About a month ago, Nintendo surprised us with announcing that the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games will now be available via the Switch Online service. They came out with some heavy hitters, but definitely left a lot to be desired. So let's talk about the games I think we can expect to see later, and also some games that are unlikely, but I would love to see. I'm just going to go ahead and get this one out of the way first. Pokemon. When the recent Pokemon Day presentation was announced, pretty much everyone had their bets placed that Nintendo was going to be putting the Pokemon games on Nintendo Switch Online. But instead, we got this. I'm not sure what Nintendo was waiting for on this one. I mean, these games have got to be coming, right? Making this list was kind of harder than I thought it would be because every time I had a thought for a game series, it seemed that it already had some sort of remake or legacy set. Mega Man Zero, Battle Network, Advanced Wars, even Castlevania all have their own physical games now on the Switch. And it made me start thinking, is this the plan for retro Pokemon game releases? I mean, all of these series are peanuts compared to Pokemon. No offense, Battle Network fans. And with the imminent closure of the 3DS and Wii U eShops, fans are left wondering what's next for their favorite old Pokemon games. Next up, we have both Metroid Zero Mission and Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland. I figured these two are kind of obvious since we got both Fusion and Amazing Mirror at launch, which are both really great picks. These along with Fire Emblem, I would be very surprised if Nintendo doesn't decide to put the sequels to these games on the online service sometime in the near future. Klonoa is a game that's been getting a little bit more recognition the past few years, and with the recent remasters of the PS1 and PS2 versions of the game being available on the Switch, I wouldn't be surprised to see the GBA versions make their way onto the Switch eventually as well. Now when it comes to games that I would love to see but I'm not holding my breath for, I for one would love to see them do something with the Boktai series. These games have been left in the dust because of the special mechanic where you need real sunlight to hit the cartridge, affecting different attributes in the game. It has made it difficult to port these games onto any other console. I'm sure they could figure something out, maybe sunlight isn't needed and it's just based off the time of day. I don't know, I just feel like these games do not get the playtime they deserve and I personally want to try them again, but I don't want to shell out the $80 to pick up an official copy. Alright, we are rounding it out to my top 3 games I wish we would get. Next up is Yu Yu Hakusho Tournament Tactics. I love this game. I played it so much, it was probably one of my most played games on the GBA. It follows the story of Yusuke through the tournament arc so well, and the overall mechanics were really fun. This was the first tactics style game I had ever played, and it definitely sold me. This would be a great pick for me. Next up is one of my favorite game trilogies from the Game Boy Advance, The Legacy of Goku. These games were great, really fun to play. I played the heck out of these games, especially the second one. Being able to charge up your energy and go Super Saiyan was all I needed back in the day. And the pacing over all of these games was really great. It's rare for a series to have a better game with each iteration, and I think Webfoot did that with these. I'm gonna take some heat for this one, but I would go as far to say that these are still the best Dragon Ball Z RPGs to this day. If these came onto the Switch Online, they would definitely get another playthrough out of me. And last but definitely not least, a fan favorite for sure, Mother 3. This is my last pick because, come on, let's be honest, it's never gonna happen. But imagine if Nintendo did. Mother 3 getting a Western localization has been begged for by fans since its original release back in 2006. It's one of those games that has such a cult following that a team of fans actually created a playable English translation, and it's great. But it would just be so awesome to finally get the real thing. But this kind of had me thinking, would fans really want that? Some games I feel like are so good and so well loved that they deserve more than just a port to some online pay-to-play service. Minish Cap, for instance. When this was announced for NSO, I was initially excited. And then after I let that sink in, I was a little bit upset to think that this means that one of my favorite Zelda titles may never get the Link's Awakening treatment it deserves. But what do you guys think? Are there some games that you would rather see a full remake of? Or are you happy just having access to games you've always wanted on newer systems? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'm Jay, and thanks for watching.